Good evening. Since we have not met some of the members of the Vet Advisory Committee, I'm just going to introduce myself, have my committee members introduce themselves, and then let Doug introduce his committee and his members. I'm Howie Lavender, Chair of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee. Susan Chambers, our Vice Chair, is at a work function. She's going to try and pop in a little bit. We've got Tara. Why don't you just introduce yourself?
I am Tara Van Genderen.
At Parks and Rec, Ryan McClatchy is a member of Parks and Rec 2. Sandy Lee. And that's it for now. We're missing three of our members. Doug, who do you have here from the Vets Committee?
We have here, it's John.
Oh, John, I'm sorry. Okay, John, sorry, I forgot about you. Couldn't see it. Sorry about that.
Okay, we opened it up for our meeting also. I was hoping that some of our members would join. We do have Jack, who's part of our executive committee, Jack Santanilio, and one of our new members, Michelle May, also is participating tonight. I was hoping that Charlene would make it. I know Larry won't, but here we are, and we're looking forward to the discussion.
Well, thank you guys for coming. We appreciate your input on this. Roll call is already taken, right, Corey? Somebody's got that? Okay. Guys, we have the minutes, Parks and Rec, the minutes from the July 14th remote meeting. Everybody get a chance to look over those? Anybody have any corrections or changes or redactions that they want? If not, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
I so move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your hand, please. Opposed? Okay, I'm going to open it up right now for any public comment on any matter not relating to the Stumptown Park conceptual design. Does anybody want to comment on anything? Let Corey know, he will buzz you in. And then in a second, I'll explain how we're going to handle these Stumptown conceptual design matters tonight.
So, assuming that there's no other public comment, I did want to introduce, and tell me if I'm mispronouncing your name. No, let me hear you say it.
Milady.
Milady, okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'll put the accent in the wrong place.
Yeah.
All right, so we have Milady Meadows. She is on the Mecklenburg County Park and Recreation Commission. She does have an update with the MEC playbook, and I think just wanted to share just in general some information coming from Mecklenburg County.
There, I can see you guys now. I rushed in the house. My daughter's last soccer game was today, so I had my sunglasses on and not my glasses, so I was squinting at you. But my name is Milady Meadows. I am on the PRC, and I represent the southern towns, so that's Pineville, Matthews, and Mint Hill. I've been on since last June, and I think I've attended 1 or 2 meetings with you guys, just popping in to kind of see what you guys were doing. Mecklenburg PRC has basically been involved the last 18 months or so in the MEC playbook, which is the county's 10-year park and rec plan, and they are in the process of finalizing that now. So the final draft, I think, went to the Board of County Commissioners, I want to say August 9th, which was just a couple of days ago, but I might be off by a few days. Lots of good things in that. They basically just evaluated parks, lots of new money for parklands, lots of improvements and things like that. A big focus on equity. So that was really good. And that's pretty much all we've been working on with COVID. We kind of had to jump over some hurdles to be able to manage. I'm sure just like you guys have had to do these meetings. So basically just the MEC playbook, which I think Corey is familiar with. Just recently, we've had the chance to start meeting in person again, which has been nice. So we did like Eastway Rec Center, and I think we're going to do a couple others in the upcoming months. My husband and I are actually in the process of relocating to Kentucky. If you kind of look around, I got some like boxes and random stuff. So I will no longer be on the Parks and Rec, which means the representative for Matthews, Pineville, and Mint Hill will be vacant. So if you know anybody who wants to advocate for the southern towns, in the upcoming years, there's hopefully going to be a couple more big regional rec centers and things like that. So it's very, very important that we are a part of that conversation and at that table. So I'm not officially stepping down yet, or we close on our house on Friday and we'll be here for 30 more days or so. But in that time period, we're hopefully going to get some applications. So if you know somebody who is passionate about Parks and Rec and wants to advocate, they do need to live in Mecklenburg County. And then for the Southern Towns representative, they do need to be a resident of Pineville, Matthews, or Mint Hill. So that's all I really have. I just kind of wanted to pop in and see how you guys were doing. If you have any questions about the MEC playbook or anything else, I can try my best to answer them.
Well, thank you, and good luck with the move. I'm sure that's going to be anxiety-provoking.
Oh, yeah, for sure. We're excited, though. We're moving closer to family, so it'll be good.
And
Does anybody have any questions? Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to add one comment. You know, the regional rec centers is something that I think I mentioned a couple of times to this committee, but something that we talk about within our department quite often. We would love to have one. Maybe saying in your next 30 days, Milady, continue to press upon the powers that be within Mecklenburg County that the southern part of the county would thoroughly enjoy a regional rec center.
Yes.
Much like the one they just opened up.
They did. And I know there's been talks of it. They, I think, are looking at the West first, but Pineville doesn't have the area for it. And Mint Hill, I know they opened just like the Stevens Creek Nature Center that they just had there. So Matthews is a big contender for that. I hope you guys have some space for it eventually. And it might be a few years down the road, but we definitely need someone who's going to step up and kind of advocate for that Southern Towns, because those rec centers are beautiful, beautiful. If you haven't been able to go to one, they're stunning. So it'd be nice to have one closer to home, right?
Yes. Yes. Well, again, thank you for what you've done while you've been here. And like how we said, good luck to you.
Thank you so much.
All right, guys. I see that Debbie and Susan have joined us. So Scott and Harvey are the only two members missing that I can tell, Corey.
Yeah, that's no one else is in the waiting room.
All right, guys, let me explain to you how I think we're going to do this tonight. Ted Duncan is here from Stewart. You can see him. He's probably close to your middle box. But we're going to let Ted is going to lead the discussion on Stumptown Park. My understanding is he's going to go through each of the concept designs one at a time, concept A, B, C, and D. As he gets to the end of each, we're going to allow questions first from the public, then from members of the Vet Advisory Committee, then from Park and Rec. If any town council members pop in, we'll put them in the queue. We'd also open it up to public comments on each proposal at that time. I think it'll be easier to keep track of, and then move on to the next proposal. As of right now, the only person falling to public comment would be Mr. Tofano, but if anybody else joins, we're happy to let them go. So I'm going to turn it over to Ted because he knows what he's talking about, and I have no idea.
Well, thank you, Howie. I think what's important about this project is that we actually all know a lot about it. It's about honoring veterans. It's about respect. It's about accommodation within a town and within a park, and it's about creating a richer experience for people that live in and visit in the town of Matthews. It's an exciting project. And Corey, if I'm going to ask to share a screen, I think all you have to do is give me permission. Let me make sure I get the right one.
You should have permission. Or is it not allowing you to?
Yeah, let's go here and let's see. Okay, are you seeing the Stumptown Veterans Memorial Park concept plans with my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, good. That's what I wanted you to see. Once we get past this part, it gets a little bit easier for me. I will say that we've had, for Stewart, we've had the benefit of working on the Northern Regional Recreation Center, which is right between Cornelius and Huntersville, and you definitely want one, without a doubt. Phenomenal pieces of work. So for this project, the progress you're going to see is I'm going to show you 3 different pieces of information, each a little more revealing, I believe. we'll start off with site plans that have been, they're based on the early sketches. They've been adjusted and updated over existing survey that was executed on the park, so they're accurate. We've done some adjustments and some revisions to them based on comments that have been received that Emily was coordinating with Corey. And then I will show you a still shot, a low bird's eye aerial of the a SketchUp model of that plan for the park. I will say that the detailed landscape elements on the kind of more or less on the back side of the park are not illustrated yet. Larger trees are, but just know that the detailed landscape is really not in there. What you will see, though, is all the architectural elements, all the paving elements, all the vertical pieces to help you understand each scenario, each option. And then I will pop you into the live SketchUp model, and we can move around just a little bit and get a little bit closer view at some of the elements. And I think that layering should give you a good idea and a good understanding of the pieces that are in each of the project options. So the first option, we're going to go A, B, C, D. They're in no particular order. You can see here on the plan, this is Stumptown Park, South Trade, entrance to the park. On the right, the large pavilion meadow and viewing field below. We come in, there are gateways on each side. We have new concrete paving, brick edged on each side coming up. We have seating, poppy garden, perennial gardens back behind, and then a scented, more evergreen garden back behind the theater monuments. This comes up, the flow is very similar to what you have now. The existing elements, of course, are the flagpole, the bench, the wall in this area, the 6 theater monuments that are in place. This does have them adjusted into a straightened line corresponding with the straightened sidewalk. We have the existing memorial wall, the upper or memorial wall with the flags. We have an enlarged plaza with commemorative bricks. This is the existing location of the plaque that's in the plaza. Then there's an expanded plaza that has a retaining wall at the back of it, allows for seating, a larger area of congregation, and then flows back into the sidewalk and the entrance exit gateway into the park. This does preserve the playground. It's not illustrated. We'll get that updated, but the playground that's in this area and its complete fall zone has been preserved. So there's no impact to the safety of children playing. And we have pushed the sidewalk out to make accommodation for this plan. I'm going to go now, pull this across. What's underneath is a low bird's eye view of the plan we just walked through. Coming up along South Trade Street entrance, gateway arch, existing bench, sculpture, flagpole, bench and wall, the War Theater monuments, the Memorial Plaza, the existing in its current location memorial and wall, the flags, and I'll apologize. Those all seem to be American flags, not the proper mix. So, Mark, if you're taking notes, I see that one too.
Ted, I'm still seeing concept design A. Have you moved on to a different view?
Oh, I did.
I'm not seeing it. I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah, I can't see it.
I'm concept A.
Me too.
Okay, then I didn't pick the right screen, so let me pick a new share.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for not letting me go any further down the line. see.
Here we go. Thank you.
It was.
Okay, great. And so this, I've pulled the other one away. This is the actual live model that the aerial was taken from. So I'm going to back out just a little bit. We'll get that similar view. And so you can see the different elements. I'm going to pan just a little bit. It'll deconstruct, then it'll compose itself again. And you can start to see the experiences, the series of existing features, realigned existing features, expanded plaza, and the new memorial plaza. And let me slide this over a little bit. Just to let you start to see how that experience kind of layers up in the site. If I'm changing it too quickly, please let me know. I don't want to either get you motion sickness or have you totally lose track of where you are. It always makes a little more sense to the driver than to the observers. So there you have the retaining wall that goes up, addresses the existing memorial, flag wall, the theater monuments, the existing flag plaza.
Hey, Ted, this is Doug Rose. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, Doug.
So 2 questions. The paver band in these illustrations, how wide is that?
The one here on the edge,
Yes, the paver band on the edge around there. How wide are you predicting for?
that's illustrated at about 18 inches, Doug.
Okay.
And of course, adjustments can be made on width or on shifting elements slightly back and forth. This one is set back probably a little bit more as it's dug into the hillside.
Okay. And then the second question, I know that there's concerns about pillar heights. I'm assuming they're going to be the height of the other pillars around the parks.
They are drawn similar in scale. We don't have a scale figure right beside one, but they are a more linear column in this expression. They could be designed to match the existing exactly, if that's desired for tying back into the.
Yeah, I think they look good. I think we don't want to make them any higher than what the other pillars are outside right now on the wall. Just wanted to kind of get the feel for, since they were thinner, they look taller, but I wasn't sure if they were actually taller than the existing ones.
No, I can certainly check that though, Doug, and we can adjust the illustration to reflect that.
And of course, there's no signs on the pillars, but that would be something that we would come up with for this signage.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other specific areas that you want to zoom into to better understand the relationship? And the other thing we can do too is we can sort of take you back to that plan view so it starts to make kind of sense. So there's similar to the plan that you saw. Shift it just a touch.
Corey, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Because of the screen, I can't see anybody. So when he is done with Exhibit A, if you would please open it up for questions or comments from anybody, starting with the public, with Mr. Tufano, anybody else, then the vet advisory, then the park and rec. I can't see what's going down. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it.
I am on it.
Thank you.
At this point, are there any points of discussions, or Corey, do you want to lead into questions? And
Yeah, maybe easiest to, ask questions about these one at a time. So, if there are any questions or comments about any of the elements shown, I guess if you could raise your hand and I'll be able to see you. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm looking. Okay, Mr. Tufano, and I guess moving forward, I'm sorry. I meant on your screen, the little raise your hand icon. I'm sorry. I wasn't looking at the photos. But Mr. Tufano did raise his hand to make a comment.
Okay. First of all, hi, Ted.
evening, Mark.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Glad to see you again. Lovely piece of work. Of course, I am going to say one comment that probably is going to cover most of these designs. I am standing firm in stating that any design without a vertical delineation is unacceptable to me and to the American Legion. And without that, there is no delineation between the two parks. Anybody standing in Stumptown Park would not recognize that there was a separate entity of Matthews Veterans Memorial Park. And by the way, Ted, this town went through a major discussion about not using the term Stumptown Veterans Memorial Park. The correct name, and I hope you correct it before you go before the commission, is Matthews Veterans Memorial Park. And it is a separate park. It's a separate pocket park. And I feel very strongly that there has to be vertical delineation. I know that there's that in one of your designs, which we'll get up to soon. But for me, this particular design would be unacceptable because of the absence of vertical delineation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark, just a point of clarification. Your comments tonight, are they yours personally, or you're representing Hooks-Ohr or any other? Just so we know who you're speaking on behalf of. If you just let us know, I'd appreciate that.
On both Mark Tufano and commander of the Hooks-Ohr American Legion Post 235.
All right, thank you. Just so we know who's giving us the input. Thank you. Ted, I've got a question which probably deals with all four of these, and it goes to the columns on the left side facing the memorial. There's a playground there, and the question I have is how close to the existing playground is the outside column? If you don't know or Corey knows, that was a concern we had, and I'm not quite sure because the playground's not represented on the schematics.
No, I can tell you what was done to address that. There is a ground pattern that has the fall zone required for the safety for the playground. And what we've done, we have shifted this walk away so that this edge of the pavement and the band is outside of that existing fall zone. And I'll get that layer turned on so you can see it, and it'll be a little more self-explanatory. But we have not encroached into the playground.
This appears to apply on all of the concept designs, correct?
Correct.
A, B, C, and D?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't have to go through it again. Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Anybody else have any questions or comments on concept A for Mr. Duncan?
Looks like you're clear to move forward, Ted.
All right. Thank you, sir. Now, concept B, is that on everyone's screen?
Not yet, no. We're still seeing the prior image, Ted.
Okay, I'm just gonna have to refresh every time. How
No,
about
I
now?
think that's the overhead view. That looks to be the overhead view of a, I'm assuming you want to get the schematic down, the concept design first. Is that what we're looking for?
Correct. We'll go with the overhead and then
Yeah.
the low bird's eye.
It's not up there yet, Ted. We're still on prior, like a live view.
And Ori, do you have to accept that share?
No, it just says that I'm viewing your screen.
Okay. So there you're not seeing concept B being placed over the previous rendering.
We see the SketchUp viewer right now, Ted.
Okay.
The sketch that we're seeing, the one I'm looking at, looks like it's the C instead of the B.
It's not the overhead view, Ted. We're getting one of the
Bird's eye view of C.
the live view. We're not getting the bird's eye view of B, which is what I think you want to have up right now.
I did, and just see if I can share the other screen then.
Whatever you did to go from the overhead to the bird's eye, I guess you may need to do that again.
Yeah, we're still on bird's eye view. I mean, not overhead.
Okay.
When you hit it, we'll let you know. How's that sound?
I wish it was a little more scientific than that. Yes.
So, Ted, I just made you the co-host, and that may help with some of your.
Okay, let's try one more time then. So there you don't see concept B in plan.
We see a sitting wall now. Is that B?
Yeah, that's B in plan.
Okay. No.
I think
It's
Okay.
the one with the.
I
Yes.
tell you what, yeah, this is the full SketchUp model. So let me just go ahead and tilt it to plan, and we'll work from there. I'm not sure why those won't come in.
we're looking for concept B right now. Is that right? We're up to.
This is concept B. Yes.
Thank you.
Concept B has the entry gateway pillars, brick-lined walk, retains all of the existing flag plaza in existing locations. It creates a second room experience with the theater monuments pushed back, so cut back in the landscape a bit with a semicircular walk that then connects to the expanded Memorial Plaza. Then the sidewalk is extended, and we have a series of educational plaques that can be developed, either talking specifically about different aspects of the conflicts or participation in from people from Matthews or that have been honored in Matthews. The design of those would be executed moving forward. Then the new walk extends over. There is a bench seating area. Then the entrance and exit gateway on the left.
And this also has a garden over by the bench seating area. Is that right?
This does, and
also, are there benches back? I can't see. The overhead view, I could see it, but
so there are benches here backing up to the garden area, which on your plans is the perennial garden
Okay.
And then
And what are
there's-
those, the gentleman said, oh, that's the informational?
That's the information plaques, yes.
Okay, by where the white figure wearing white, thank you.
Correct.
Sorry to interrupt you. I didn't mean to.
No, that's fine. I apologize for not being able to get the screens to cooperate for me. The low seawall, low brick with precast cap, seawall that does define and provide seating and definition for the Memorial Plaza. And so the key differences from previous is the relocation and redevelopment of a more specific area for the theater monuments, the addition of educational opportunities in plaques and vertical elements, and then the definition of the plaza with the seat wall.
Question.
Yes.
In all the four drawings, is there anything that shows the division between the old gas station and the new park?
That shows the property line on the backside?
Yes. What divides the two?
We have that in GIS on the plans. There's a very faint line, but as far as what's defining it, right now we don't have any hard element defining, such as a fence or an extension of the fence defining between the park and the adjacent parking.
We noticed a few weeks ago people climbing over the memorial to get to the park. So it needs to be something there to divide the two.
Understood.
And Mr. Tufano has raised his hand.
Hi, Ted.
Yeah, Mark.
Another lovely piece of work. Thank you. Now we're getting somewhere. We got the vertical delineation there. There's a couple of questions that I have, though. There's a 4-foot burn that runs the entire length of the property from left to right. The graphics, the rendering that you're showing here may or may not take into consideration that burn. Was it intentional to actually flatten the entire park or put it at some kind of gradual slope?
Are you talking about the landform kind of delineations back here, Mark?
Yeah, it runs,
Right behind us.
It runs the entire length from left to right. It's about
Understood.
4 feet high
Yeah.
from
This-
grade.
Right. And what we have, the edge of this sidewalk here respects the existing grade. So these would be in the raised field. And if the delineation is a little odd, I'll just have to credit that to the program. But no change in the grade right behind these memorials. Now here we would be carving back into it
Mm-hmm.
and having that slope steepen behind these last two monuments and then flattening back out toward the existing.
So you
On the
may, need
edge
a you may need a retaining wall behind the curved monuments.
It's possible, but we're hoping with the grading out there that we would not have to, Mark.
Okay. And also I noticed that, can you pan up so that you can get an aerial view? I'm sorry, you want an aerial. There you go. That's good enough right there.
Okay. All right.
I notice currently where the bend starts to turn just before the flagpole circle.
Yes.
Can you put your cursor over that so I know where you are? Yep, right there.
Here.
All right. All the way from there, all the way over to the left side, the sidewalk is wonky. I mean, it curves and bends, and so
Ditches.
So are you intentionally repaving the sidewalk to make it straight all the way across?
Yes, we'd like to reestablish and recontrol the grade along this entire process.
Right. Okay, so for instance, to the left, as we're looking down, the left of the, I guess you call it the plaza, which is the center part, Yeah, the sidewalk currently dips down almost 4 feet before it gets to the playground area. So again, I want to just make sure that you're going to repave all of the concrete to be straight across.
Yes, that's the intention of the design.
Okay.
Sorry, oh, don't let me go spinning. I'm diving.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
SketchUp has a way to do that.
Well, people say it's intuitive, and it's the opposite of what my intuition is, I'm afraid.
Exactly. And thirdly, if you can go back to the aerial view for a moment. There you perfect. You don't need to.
Okay.
Right now, that vertical delineation, which thank you very much for putting that in, is coming into the Stumptown Park area. Looks like about 6 to 8 feet. Do you have? Can you put your ruler measurement on that and see what it is?
There's probably from the early kind of dash line, which runs a little tighter here and falls off this way. That's probably about 3.5, 4 feet.
Okay, so if you're coming into the park, into Stumptown Park, with a vertical delineation of 3 to 4 feet, what is inhibiting your design from carrying that vertical delineation to the left and right as well?
Well, there's nothing prohibiting a design from walling off the entire sidewalk if that was someone's intention or desire or goal.
Well, for instance, not the entire sidewalk. For instance, if you were to leave a space, put your cursor to the right of right there, perfect. Okay, so if you left a space there for people to walk through, and then another small sitting wall, right, almost the same width of the green area in the semicircle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and also over on the left side in the green, just in front of the information plaques that you have.
Yes.
That would give an opportunity for reflection in both of those areas. And since you've already put the vertical delineation into Stumptown Park, into the area which the Board of Commissioners has authorized the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park to be, it seems like a logical addition to add a few small sitting walls on each side to allow people to sit and reflect as well.
Understood.
And that's all the comments I have. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have any comments on concept design B, we'll call it?
Oh, this is Doug. Once again, the educational, what do we call those? Educational what?
They're plaques, Doug?
Educational plaques, thank you. And I'll get to, when we get done on I did pass out all this information to all of my committee members, and we'll let you know what the results were when we get done with discussing the rest of them. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you.
Before we move on, I just want to let everyone know on the committees that an email came out probably at 5 o'clock tonight from a gentleman named Jim Thurman, Thirman. Very short, very sweet. It said, in effect, one line, he likes B the best, C is his second favorite. I just want to share that with you now before I forget about it.
Howie, I got that one. He's part of our committee.
Excellent.
Rosen, there you go.
And this one is B, just for edification?
It is.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments they want to share at this point on concept design B, excuse me. I guess we move on to concept design C then.
And given our past failures, I will make one quick push at trying to drag another image over this one and have it get recognized. If you didn't see another image come across it, Somebody give me the sad news and I'll move it away.
Negative.
Negative. Thank you.
Yeah, same thing we had before.
Got it.
Oh, I got something different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is the regen for the next iteration for C. So I will take it up and give you a bit of a plan view. Get relocated a little bit here. And so this scheme is similar to the previous. It has components that we've seen that are similar, though slightly different, especially to the one we just viewed. So on C, same pillars, same location, new paving, preservation of the existing flag plaza, an offset room for the War Theater memorials. This has it delineated in more highly with brick pavers and accent paving. Connecting walk to the Memorial Plaza. The memorial walls still and flags still in their existing location. Retaining wall to do an expanded garden plaza that then connects over, loops around, avoiding the playground, connects back to the existing park. I'll go ahead and drop down on this one a little bit. And again, there are garden areas behind each of these sections per the flat illustrations that Corey had distributed. So here is still a room with the flag, a room with the theater memorials, the plaza room with the honoree memorials. And then this is a softer transition in this adjacent area, widened out as we saw in concept A, similar to that, and then connecting back around. So it increases the sitting capacity and the visitor capacity on the plaza.
All right. Well, Mr. Stefano's raised his hand, but I'm not sure if you were done talking, Ted.
No, that's fine. I think we're into enough similarities that we don't have to go into each piece again, though I certainly can if someone has questions.
All right. Mr. Stefano.
Hi, Ted. Another nice design. Can you go back to the aerial view? Right, that's perfect. That'd be good.
That pull back enough?
Yeah, that's fine. By the way, I wanted to mention that I like the paver bricks along the inside of the sidewalks. 18 inches, I don't know if it's quite wide enough. Let me explain what we were going to use that area for in our original Legion design, and that was to provide paver bricks in those areas that were inscribed with the names of the donors and the companies that have given so much of their time and money and energy to putting this Veterans Memorial Park together. So that's nice. If we could possibly make that just a little bit wider, maybe go up to 2 feet or something of that nature, that would serve that purpose well. But the center part holds a special significance for veterans. That area in front of the wall is where we have the engraved bricks of the names of men and women who have fallen in battle or have been remembered by family and friends who wanted to honor them and love them. And we wanted to keep that separate and distinct. And by having the bricks flow into it from the left side and also all the bricks in front of the memorials, it sort of takes away, in my opinion, from the significance of that area. Now, the previous ones where you had concrete, for instance, going into the War Memorial area and over to the left where you had the concrete sidewalk with the garden was lovely. On the right side, actually, the bricks circling inside of the monuments actually might be also effective area for veterans engraved bricks as well, especially if they want to be remembered as part of a particular war or conflict, to place their names right in front of that particular conflict or war might be a very lovely thing to do. So maybe that one has merit and on the right could stay, but the bricks flowing in on the left, I think, take away from the significance of the centerpiece.
Got it, Mark. Do you see a benefit for a widened plaza in that area, or would you rather just have the more typical widened sidewalk approaching the Memorial Plaza?
Well, you see how you have concrete just to the right of the plaza before you go into the horseshoe?
Yes.
Okay, it would be nice to have some kind of concrete on the left as well, which I think you had in one of your designs. I mean, if you wanted to go with brick in that area, what it does is it accents that center area, which is we have reserved for engraved with the names of our heroes.
Understood, and very touching ceremonies when those take place. So would you be looking for then just something an area to define and separate, or would you rather not have brick in any of this area?
Just to define and separate.
Okay, got it. That's clear. Thank you.
And if I may make a comment, if Mark, are you finished?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so this was back to the last design that the MVAC submitted, minus the bricks in the seating area or the garden, that seating area to the left. We did have some changes in our voting since then, but I just want to let you guys know that this was what we had submitted previously. And the one other comment, and I get where Mark is coming from for the center area, but if anybody's ever been to the NASCAR Hall of Fame, the bricks are actually sitting out in front of the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Of course, it's a different concept for the race car drivers versus the fallen heroes or those that were what do you want to call it, from our friends and families. But again, this is not a cemetery, so I think this might be a good concept with the bricks being able to walk in. I do like the idea where Mark is talking about putting the bricks for the campaigns for those individuals might be a good touch also. So I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
And John, Mr. Gatlin has raised his hand.
That's great.
Hey, Ted, how tall is the retaining wall over there on the left side behind the benches?
Mark, we think it's going to be up, probably actually retaining about 2.5, so the height would be about 3.
Cool.
With cap, and to get us a little positive drainage back behind it.
Okay, thanks.
And so it wouldn't be like a low seating height, but it could be a kind of a high leaning height.
Gotcha.
Any other questions or peeks at details?
Yeah, may I make one more comment, Corey or Howie?
Yeah, I was about to recognize you.
Okay. I just have to put this in, Ted. There's no vertical delineation, but other than that, it looks cool.
That was a better.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Put the water down, you want to the right side, actually. No.
Sorry, that's not the right file. That's the existing base. Let me give me just a moment. I'm going to pull up another file. Here we go. And while that's registering, I'll apologize. My view's gotten kind of garish. It's gotten extremely dark downtown with some low, heavy clouds, and I didn't have my light on. So if I look a little Halloweenish, I apologize. And there comes the thunder. So here's the concept D. Similar in approach, in preservation. But this one takes the war theater monuments and assigns them on each side of the major plaza. So this is a very symmetrical, sort of tight and balanced middle portion of the Veterans Park. Then the sidewalk minimally exiting out, some seating, garden areas behind as typical. But this one has wrong control. It certainly has a different attitude of formality. And I would say there is a bit more distinction between this revised centerpiece and the existing flag plaza that are a little more distinct. Be that something you would think is a positive and strong factor or not. You can look at it either way. This one is very straightforward, very symmetrical in its middle core, and then balances out to either side as we tie back into the existing park. This has a widened sidewalk area with pavers, though it is not. It's not a deeply widened plaza area. Just wide enough to accommodate good traffic and to have the availability to put benches in that section.
Sorry. Ms. May has raised her hand.
It's just a simple question. So this design here just has the two benches and then the far one over to the left?
Yes, there's a bench here, two benches paired here. This is an existing bench. And I think, as you've seen in a lot of the components, if there was a more extensive bench organization in this area that you thought you liked better, or supported the use of the Veterans Memorial Park more strongly, you can do what we generally refer to as plug and play, where you can take a component from one of the other designs that had more benches and seating in this area and apply it in this same configuration.
See. By the way, your sketches are beautiful. You've done a wonderful job.
Well, we have a few glitches in there, but I'm glad it's at least helping you guys kind of see through on ground level and 3D just what the elements are perceived to be. These are not final designs; they're conceptual designs, but we really do want to try and help you lock in the elements that you believe are most important and most appropriate. And we've heard some very helpful comments and additions that have been pointed out, preferences. So if there are other thoughts on this one in particular, it would be great to hear from you. I'll stop.
I think what was said earlier is the only concern that I have is the fact that there's nothing keeping people from climbing over stuff from the other side in. That's the only situation that I've seen so far. But other than that, I mean, everyone I've seen is incredibly beautiful. They just keep on getting better and better as you go through them. They're just beautiful.
Well, I think the good news is you don't have to choose a final tonight. I don't think that's my understanding. I could be getting correct, but I think you have to look at these as where the design begins. You look at what the opportunities are, and if there's some of, well, we like this component, could it match and made in with this one? Can this edge be pulled out further and be more functional in the way of recognizing donors? Things like that are very easy to accommodate. This is all very early in the process. We do try to make it look as real and done so you can get a feeling for it. But these are really the early starts of a variety of ideas for you guys to evaluate.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Sure. Thank you.
And Mr. Stefano also has his hand raised.
Hi, Ted.
Hey, Mark, what's missing, buddy?
Okay, on again, the continuous flow of brick into that center area.
Noted.
And also, I'll have to put it in one more time, no vertical delineation. And I'm saying that with a huge smile, but it's very important. But this one, I think, is the least of all. And the reason I'm saying that is it puts the accents on Stumptown Park and not on the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park. And the reason I'm saying that is all the seating area is pointing towards Stumptown Park. And that hopefully will be not what we're attempting to do here. So we want the emphasis when people come in to be able to reflect on the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park and not on Stumptown Park.
Good comment.
Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, Mark.
And if I can make a comment also, I think, again, with NVAC, this was the least favorable, even though it's nice, delineated, symmetrically. It kind of doesn't allow, I like the encased areas where each of the separate areas were before. So all the monuments were in one area, and then you had either the educational plaques or something else in the next area, or the seating area. And then we got space for something else in the far left area also. So just to comment that this was the least desirable of the NVAC designs so far.
Thank you, Doug.
Is there any more comments about, well, I guess really about any of the designs?
Yeah, we can't backtrack to any of them that you've.
Can we see a bird's eye view of C again, please?
Sure.
And since we didn't receive them, I'm just making taking a picture of each one of them so I can send it out to my committee. But they are.
I'll send the screenshot, the low bird's eye view screenshots to Corey, and so he can have those to send out to you, along with the plan views which you received earlier.
Great.
The only thing you won't have is the live model here.
And well, I guess one.
Yes, Corey.
Well, I wanted everyone else to, well, I guess ask any questions, make any comments before the committees begin to, I guess, discuss and move toward making a recommendation. I just wanted to make a few comments before the committee started to talk, if no one else had any. All clear?
All good, thank you.
Hold on. Now, Ms. May, is that your hand raised from the last time, or you have?
That was from the last time, yes, sir.
Right, looks like Leanne or Ms. Moore has her hand raised.
Miss Moore, we're so formal. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, again, I just, from an event standpoint, feel like I at least have to comment at each one of these meetings. I think from an event standpoint, anything vertical on the park side, I would have to be against. For me, it just doesn't make sense to cut that area off. And with all of the other uses that happen with many more people most of the year. So I would, again, I don't want to sound like a broken record either, but I would most likely be against any knee wall on the inside. I did have a question about the columns, but I'll wait for that. I like all of the drawings for different reasons. I even like the last one because of the thinness of the left side of things. You know, there's not going to be 100 people in that space every day. And so, you know, there'll be a lot of people there a couple of times a year at different activities. So I like the thinness of that of the left side of the area. I like the balance of the other one though, that split the war monuments up on each side. I don't know. I like them for different reasons. I would just say that anything on the inside of the park just doesn't need to be vertical. And then I would have a question about the height of the columns on each end. I was sitting in traffic, I don't know, yesterday or day before. Every day we all sit in traffic there, and I hadn't really thought about it from that angle. And I looked over at the heart sculpture while I was sitting in traffic, and I just was kind of looking at the brick wall that borders the park, and it has columns in it already with, you know, metal pickets in between. And I just couldn't imagine in that small space more vertical, huge columns. It just is not that big of a space. If I can just say that one more time, this is not that big of a space. And so I think scale is important, and vertical scale is important, and sometimes more is not good. So that would be my only thought. I had not looked at it from that angle or thought about it from that angle, but that would be my only other comment. I mean, it's our event space. If I have my way, we'll move everything out of here and take it to a bigger park. So then y'all can do whatever you want from an event standpoint. But right now, it's all we have. So I would just hope for not a lot of anything that impacts the inside of the park.
Thank you. And before the committees get into discussion, just a couple of comments. Really, I guess what I'm about to say really is more toward design. Looking at where on the east side, where the public art sculpture is, as you begin to make that turn, when we do get into, you know, design and say looking really toward construction, we would like to soften that turn. And so I'm saying this now, if you could show it in this design, so that the town board knows that that's something that would need to be done. So that is a hard right turn for someone entering through that circle. And it's simply just removing that elevated brick area. Maybe it is just a better transition of concrete to help make that right a little easier turn for people. And then almost what Leanne was saying, the placement of the columns, you know, looking at where they will physically be placed in construction. You know, maybe it's not exactly where you may feel as though it's sitting, you know, right here in that, say, relationship to the semicircle or piece of public art. You know, there certainly will be some, call it design decisions made with actual placement, you know, of the column. And that was pretty much it.
Corey, I had a question too about, you know, we've all been talking in staff meetings about at some point this park has to be made ADA compliant. And that was going to require an entire redesign of the sidewalks and the terracing of the park, if you will, or the fall of the park.
Yes.
It was very extensive, and I know we all kind of thought, oh my gosh, hopefully not in our lifetimes. I hope I'm at Erickson when that happens. But that's something to think about. I mean, if we start to have to make the changes in those elevations, you know, the sidewalk on the right is certainly part of our concern, I remember.
Yeah, so I think Ted mentioned it before. I mean, there's some work that's going to have to be done to the sidewalk, some replacement of portions, definitely some landings created or somehow lowering the slope in some of the spots. So yeah, that will be part of the project whenever this is done.
Gotcha. Is it,
Corey, if I could
is it possible to use one of the columns that's already there? Can we use columns that are already in place instead of adding more stuff in that space? That would be another thought.
Are we having an open discussion yet?
Not yet. We're not there yet. Corey, if I could, can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think you got kicked out somehow.
I did get kicked out, and it took me a while to get back in. Two things. One is, my understanding is tonight we are supposed to make a recommendation on one of these designs so that it can go to town council. Is that correct?
Correct. I think what Ted was alluding to was the town board is ultimately making the decision. So the committee.
Right. I just want to be sure there's no misunderstanding. And the other thing is, I have actually two questions for Mr. Tufano, if he can hear me. Mark, can you hear me? I'm not getting any response from Corey.
Thank you. I was on mute.
No problem, Mark. Two things. You keep using the term vertical delineation. I wonder if you could just explain it so we make sure that everybody understands exactly what it is you're talking about.
Well, if Ted, if you go back to the ones, Ted, are you still with us?
I am.
Okay, if you can go back to, what was it, B, I believe it was?
Thank you. Just so that everybody understands, because you've used it a couple of times and there may be some confusion there, Mark.
Sure. Wait just a moment before the rendering for B comes up.
Hold on, Mark, I might have picked the wrong file there.
That's okay. We all know that computers are the work of the devil, so well, Howie, while he's bringing that up, if you could recall, there was a seating wall or a sitting wall, kind of a semicircle separating Matthews Veterans Memorial Park from Stumptown Park.
And we're talking at the circle in the center or along the entire pathway?
The one that Ted showed that had in the center.
So we're vertical delineation.
Had a wing on each side.
So we're talking about something raised on what would be the interior or the Stumptown Park side of the memorial. Is that where we're talking about vertical delineation?
Correct. In other words, if you're standing in Stumptown Park or anywhere in Stumptown Park, without a vertical delineation, without something distinctly separating the two parks, it looks as though the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park is simply just an extension of Stumptown Park. And it's not meant to.
We're not talking about a wall along the entire portion, just some portions that would have a vertical retaining wall of some type.
Correct. Correct. Okay. In other words, just I think I've expressed myself to Ted about where a few, here you go, where a few additional vertical delineation or seating walls could be placed in front of the perhaps a 10 or 12 foot wide one in front of the monument area and also in front of the I think historical plaques area, I believe you're calling it, Ted?
Yes.
So in other words, if you can imagine that green space to the right where the tree is in the middle, and if you were to just come down from the two edges of those and put in another sitting wall right in line with the wing on the middle part, that would allow people to sit and reflect in that area, as well as over to the left, another 10 or 12 foot size wall or length, allowing people to sit and reflect on the historical monuments, plaques as well.
All right, thank you. That helps explain. I have one more question for you, since you're the public and public comment tonight. On behalf of you and Hooksor, if you had to rate these proposals, I understand you want some changes. You've mentioned some changes you like in each of them, but in terms of preference, A, B, C, D, how would you rank them if you were recommending it to us right now?
Well, right now, the one we're looking at, in my opinion, and we've always, as far as our post, we've always wanted vertical delineation in the park, and this is the only one that has that. And with modifications that I suggested to Ted, this one would be quite acceptable.
That's B we're looking at right now, correct?
Right.
Ted?
Yes.
What about, if it wasn't B, what about A, C, or D? Are they unacceptable to you in total, or do you have a second or third choice? That's what I'm just trying to drag out from you right now.
Well, in terms of, they're unacceptable in total because none of them have a vertical delineation.
So basically, your position is B is the only one that would be acceptable to Hooksor and to yourself. Unless you added vertical delineation to the others, which the last one is I think A, B, C, D. The last one is the least acceptable. Okay. Can you go back to A for a moment, Ted? I think that's the one that had the monuments in a straight line and you straightened out the concrete.
It is.
Yeah. I think that it's kind of difficult because I can't visually remember each of them, but I believe A, if it had vertical delineation, might be a second choice. Okay, and then with C, in other words, and I understand you want vertical delineation on all of them, but you're basically, the preferences you would say would be B, A, C, and then D. I just want to understand for our purposes where you're coming from. Yeah, I'd have to see them one more time, and I hate to take the committee's time to have these renderings come up. But this one, the only difference on this one, again, there was no separation between the memorial brick engraving area and the others. And also the benches are facing Stumptown Park, which is not what Matthews Veterans Memorial Park is all about. So this one has some promise, but again, without vertical delineation and separation to the engraved brick area, those two modifications might make it a second choice. What about
right. So in other words,
what about C, Ted?
Okay.
I want to make sure that the seating is pointing to Matthews Veterans Memorial Park and not Stumptown Park. And thank you for allowing me to speak at length about these. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for your input, Mark. Is there anything else you want to add before we go back into committee-based deliberations?
No, if I could just see C one more time. Is it too difficult to bring it up, Ted?
This should be it here, Mark.
Oh, that's it? Yeah, same thing on the left. Seating is facing Stumptown Park, and there needs to be some kind of separation between the memorial area, the engraved brick area, and any brick area other than it, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, Corey, anybody else have any comments or questions? Well, excuse me, have any questions for Ted or about these designs before we start talking between the two committees about preferences and general feelings?
I see none.
Okay. In that case, let's close off what we were calling the public comments section of tonight's meeting, and move on to a consideration of the designs A, B, C, or D, or with modifications that have been raised during the session we just finished. So I'm going to go back. Doug, I'm going to let you or Michelle or Jack, since you're committee member, we're treating these committee members tonight, but since you're also guests, we're going to let you have first crack at this thing.
Thank you. So I'll go ahead and let you guys know what we've have, and then I'll open it up to Michelle and to Jack for comments. So initially, when we submitted our proposal, it was for something that looked more like Plan C. This last go around, I sent out all 4 drawings. We had a vote, and we had 6 for Plan B, 2 for Plan C, and 2 no votes out of my 10 committee members. So it looks like we're leaning towards B, the one with the sitting wall. Me personally, and I'm talking Doug, I'm not talking about MVAC. I think the C that we had originally submitted with the pavers does give us a distinction. The pillars need to be there. We made that clear the last time around. I know that Matthews Alive Committee is kind of against that, but we did like the pillars for entry and exit. We did like the brick, what do we call that? The brick band, the paver band. That gave us a delineation. My concern would be the heights of the pillars, of course. And again, the what do we call it? That seating area. B has the educational plaques. That's the first time that I saw the educational plaques in there. We have no design or request for educational plaques. I still thought the whole idea about us having seating for the elderly, not so much to seat them looking at the monument for American Legion events in my case, but I'm just saying I think that the seating was critical for people just to sit in that area, provide more seating while they're reviewing and enjoying the area up there. So that was more for that I thought I would like to see that sitting garden or plaza area instead of the educational plaques. But again, all I gave my folks right now were the 4 designs, and out of the 4 designs, we had the majority going in for B. So unless we can come up with a hybrid again of the 4 while we're having our discussions, I would like Michelle and Jack also to comment if they have any insight to it. But I personally like C. I don't mind the sitting wall. That would be a great concept. I don't think we need to extend the sitting wall if we have some more seating around that area. But that's just me. We'll go with Michelle first if you have any additional comments, Michelle.
I was going to let Jack go before me, if you don't mind, Doug, just so I can join you.
Okay, Jack, you're on the floor if you have any additional comments.
Michelle, ladies first, but I'll go. Okay, so yeah, B. B is the one with a couple of questions. Again, like Michelle mentioned earlier, and I did, the division between that gas station, the old gas station, and the memorial. We don't want people trampling on our flowers or on our bricks, memorializing our veterans. I think that's important to put something back there, something big enough that people won't, crawl over it. Okay, so I think that's important for not only the Memorial Park but for Stumptown Park also. And then the other thing is that like Doug just said, the educational plaques. That's a great idea. I love that. I mean, we had thought about that. We had discussed that before in various meetings. I think that's a great idea. I'm for B.
Jack, just a question for you. The issue of cutting over from what used to be the Exxon station is B. It's an issue for all of them.
That's correct. I'm sorry.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just want to be sure I understand that. Thanks. Yeah, I thought it was.
Absolutely.
But I just didn't understand.
Absolutely. All any design you want to have people not being able to crawl over into the park, into Matthews Park. Okay.
And I will say, those kids are going to do it no matter what. I think it's great in theory, but we actually had more greenery there before all this started. So, it will be incredibly difficult to keep kids out of the trees and out of the flower beds.
Right. And some of this may be resolved when the lot is sold and there's another usage for it. Whoever puts something in there may very well do something that takes care of this issue. We don't know. Right now, it's still up for sale, as I understand it. But Michelle, if you wanted to, we'd love to hear what you've got thinking about all this.
Okay. I respect what Leanne's saying, but I think while it may still get, whatever we put back there may still get scaled by children, I don't want to make it easy for them. If you make a little bit of a deterrent, kids generally move on to something easier. But that's my experience anyway. As far as the monument itself, I'm a fan of B. I like B. I think B looks really nice. I think, like everyone else, the pillars do need to be there. I don't think they should be huge and extravagant because we don't want to create a monument that's overdone either. I mean, I think it has to have a nice balance of being respectful to the veterans, but not overdone and out of control. I think there has to be kind of a middle road there. I think B encompasses all of that. It allows the Matthews Alive and all those other things to take place, but it gives a good respect and a decent memorial that honors the veterans. That's my thoughts. I'm for B.
Thank you. Doug, Jack, or Michelle, anything else you want to add before I go to the Parks and Rec Committee members?
Yes, last thing. So again, I respect our opinion of our committee members and Michelle being one of the new committee members, so I appreciate the input. The one thing about the seating wall, and we talked about it in the very beginning, was we're looking for something to be removable in the very beginning. That hasn't come up to the design right now. It looks to be permanent. Our committee is made up of veterans. We do like to have our Veterans Memorial Park at not the Stumptown Park, but the Matthews Veterans Memorial Park. And again, right now, our majority is going with B at this time or some kind of hybrid. So thank you.
And Jack, you wanted to add something, I thought?
No, I'm just going to say I concur with Doug said and what Michelle says. I think we're all on the same page.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to members of the Park and Rec Advisory Committee to chime in on what you're thinking about all this. Anybody, just start as you feel like it. Anybody? I'll start then. I personally, I don't care. I'm not bashful. I tend to agree with B. I like the partial retaining wall. With all respect to Mark, I have a very big problem with vertical delineation going any further than that because, as we talked about before, it's going to interfere with the use of the park in our bigger events, whether it's the symphony, certainly Matthews Alive. So whether that retaining wall in B is permanent or removable, which is an option still, I have a problem with it going any further than it goes. I also tend to like B and also C because when the memorials are in a straight line, it gives me too much of a feeling like a cemetery, which is exactly the feeling we want to avoid with this. With this thing. I like the informational. I think it's important that we make it as educational as possible. So the informational walls on B work for me. Although I also like C. The only one I'm absolutely opposed to straight out is A. I just don't think it does anything. So I'm going to keep my mouth shut and move on. Anybody else? Ryan, John, Sandy, Debbie. I may be forgetting some. Susan's still here too, right?
Yeah, it's John.
Jim, go ahead, please.
Hey,
go ahead, John.
My preference is C. I think that the paver ban does provide adequate delineation in terms of the debated topic of vertical delineation or not. I think it delineates, and it also still supports activities in the park. I do agree that some type of fence around the back of the park. I think that's a good idea. My second choice would be B, and I would not vote for A or D at all.
All right, thank you, John. Anybody else from Parks and Rec want to chime on in? Just raise your voice and we'll let you just go run with it.
Yes, I will. Here. Oh, Ryan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I like B for all the reasons mentioned, and I'm with Howie. I think that's the right amount of vertical delineation. Not any more than that, but I think it gets the job done and it looks the best.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Debbie, Susan, Tara, or Sandy? Guys, you've been relatively quiet. Somebody got stepped on just a minute ago talking, so whoever that was, please chime.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Hey.
We can.
Hey, thanks for all the discussions. Those drawings are beautiful. That was such an interactive display. Thank you for putting that together. And I love B. I like the consideration that everyone's contributing with both committee and the American Legion. So I appreciate that consideration and going into B. And I love the sorry, I'm going into the screenshot so I can talk about it too. I love the educational element particularly, and sorry, maybe it's the vanity in me, but I also like the gardens. I love that we have gardens to consider there, the scented gardens. So I'd vote for B. With B with the considerations that you guys are considering, both the Veterans Committee and the American Legions.
Thanks, Debbie. Tara, Sandy, or Susan, you guys want to chime in on this, or?
I think I like. Tara, go ahead, Tara. You're here first.
It's okay. My first pick is C, and I also have a strong runner-up with B. With C, I like the curved sitting wall in the back left. I also like the individual walkways up to the memorial plaques. It just looks really nice and clean and draws your attention right to them. And we've still got our flowers and gardens back there too, so I like that.
And let me ask real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sandy.
Go ahead. Go ahead and ask a question.
I want to make sure that the B's and C's and I think the A's and D's are the same. I want to make sure the order that I'm looking at mine are the same, and I'm calling B what everyone else is saying is B. So, all right. So I have B as the circular drawing, but no, what we're calling no dug-in plaza on the left. It is just sidewalk width, and the seating is more on that curve heading west.
Mm-hmm. Right, with the educational signs was B.
Okay, just wanted to double check.
Right, and that's the one that was given to us. Okay, Sandy, I'm sorry. Go ahead, please.
I think I like B the best. I like the concept of the informational wall also. The informational, I guess we're talking about the informational wall. Again, help me on this, the seating. Have we decided the seating does come out into the park, I'm assuming? Have we decided whether we don't know whether that's movable or not movable, or what do we know about the seating at this point? Because that does.
We don't, and that's something, we can talk about. If we were to, for example, propose B, we can propose B with this, removable seating, for example, or with something else. So when we get to discussion about what we want, we can talk about modifications we might want to recommend along with the recommendation we're sending up to town council. If that helps.
Okay.
We don't have to blindly say B, C, A, D. We can say B, but, or C, but. And I'm just using those two because the consensus seems to be those are the two that are way ahead.
Okay. The seating goes, I don't think the seating would be used for festivals that much, and it does go out within the park. So I guess I would love to see it movable if we can.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Sandy?
No.
Susan, are you still with us, or if you moved back to business mode?
She may have. I think she moved back to business mode a minute ago. She told me. Oh, Susan texted me. She said, I'll just, for what it's worth, she said I had to hang up. My vote is B with no columns. I think the brick pavers incorporated into the sidewalk is defining.
All right, thank you. Okay, so it appears, unless I'm getting something wrong, the consensus is B or C. Does somebody from Parks and Rec want to make a motion in favor of one of those? And if you'd like to make some modifications to it as part of the motion, please do it, when you raise it. One thing I would say we should add, because it seems to be across the board for everything, is some recommendation for something at the back of the property to separate it from the Exxon station. And that would be A, B, C, or D. I assume nobody has an objection to that.
Yeah.
So if there's somebody who wants to raise a motion to approve B or C, or if you want to do A or D, be my guest.
I'd like to motion for B.
Okay. Do you want to suggest any modifications to B other than adding something to prevent the jump through from what used to be the Exxon station?
Well, yes, modifications of what that both American Legion and the Veterans Committee have raised. And the back wall, yes, that would make perfect sense. So modifications as well for B.
Okay, there's a motion for B. Does anybody want to add anything? I would say I'd like to consider making a recommendation, consider somehow making the retaining wall removable to some extent so that it can be removed for the big events. It'll be anchored in so it won't be a walkaway deal. But I don't know how you guys feel about that, or you're comfortable with a permanent brick retaining wall as it shows in that diagram. I just want to throw that out there.
I don't think I get a vote, but I would, unless somebody's going to come load those and store those, I'd like to know who's going to pull those out every time we have an event. But I'm not for any wall on the inside at all. B, I like, but I would also be careful that those educational things look 3 times as big as the monuments, and the monuments are already quite big for that space. So again, B's fine, but I would say no permanent anything on the inside, and then be very careful of scale for the other elements.
All right, so you're suggesting that we do B, but remove the seating along what would be the Memorial Plaza, right? I just want to make sure I understand you.
Yeah, okay. Anything, yeah.
And Jack,
anybody on Parks and Rec want to add anything as to that, or also Jack, let the Veterans Advisory people too comment on that. If you'd like to, please go ahead.
Yeah,
Corey, what do you?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead, Jack. I do have some comments, but go ahead.
All right. Now, what just brought up about the educational plaques. The only question, I love that idea, but who will be responsible for putting the information on those plaques?
Right, and who for those?
Well, the park is a public park. It's, it'll be the department's responsibility to physically place it. We would certainly talk to veterans or historians and get the information to put on it. But it will be the town to put it, physically install it.
And Jack, to some extent, some of the scale issues will be worked out when we get to an actual design as opposed to a conceptual design.
Right. Great.
Yeah, and with dimensions, certainly that'll come out in design.
Right. Excellent. Thank you.
All right. There is a motion on the floor to approve design B with some kind of barricade to stop the pass through from the old Exxon station. Is there an amendment, or anybody want to amend or change to either remove the retaining wall in B or to make it a removable seating area? If not, we can go ahead and vote the way it is. I just want to be sure all the options are out there.
Corey, did you have something?
Corey, go ahead.
Well, I want to listen to some other comments. I want to listen to some other committee comments, and then I want to make some comments, I guess, before we vote or before the committee votes. Are there any other
Does anybody else want to add any potential modifications to the existing motion to approve B as is with the back wall? Corey, go ahead, and I guess nobody else wants to chime in.
Gotcha. Okay, so I would just like to share. I was, honestly, a little excited when when MVAC or when Doug shared the first iteration of what MVAC would have liked. The circular design on the right, the additional seating on the left. I think it certainly matched what we took away from the initial meetings as what the desires were. Additional seating. So I just wanted to, share that. I was excited about C when I really thought it was like we had it. This was the one. an opportunity I'll sort of bring up, looking at, I guess it's in B or C, the circular design on the right. I do understand some comments about the direction that the seating sort of is designed to face. Looking at that circular design, there is an opportunity to add some low-level seating in that circle on the inside, so almost around that tree or shrub, to where visitors could physically sit in that space and be facing the memorial plaques. I just wanted to raise it up as an opportunity.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor to suggest B with the back wall modification. I guess no one else had any changes they wanted to add to it. So, and that includes the permanent seating wall, just so we make sure we understand it. I guess all in favor, raise your hand. I can't tell. Corey, can you see everybody? I can't.
You may need to ask everyone to verbalize.
Yeah, why don't we just go through it? Ryan, I'm going to ask you first if you're in favor or opposed to the motion.
I'm in favor.
Okay, Debbie. I'm sorry, Debbie, can't hear you. Okay, yes, that's a yes. Okay, Susan back, or she's still AWOL?
I think she's AWOL right now.
Okay, John, what are your thoughts on that?
I have a question. The amendment or the modification to B that's being voted on, does it include the seating wall in front or on the inside of the park?
It doesn't right now. The way it's phrased right now is a permanent seating wall, which would be against the grass area at Stumptown Park as part of the process.
Yeah, I don't think everybody understands that.
And when I'm looking at B, I'm looking at a seating wall inside. Is that right or not?
Right, yes. That has a brick seating wall, which is at the bottom of the Memorial Plaza, and that abuts onto the grassy area of what we'll call Stumptown Park.
And it is not movable.
It's not movable. It is a solid, and we talked about whether to make it movable or not.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody understands that in the motion.
So, yeah, so
no,
I'm opposed.
It's not in this motion. What?
Yeah, so how I'm opposed to the motion that includes the seating wall.
All right, so you're voting no on B as it exists right now. Okay, Tara?
Yes, same, opposed as it is right now.
Opposed, you're voting no on B as a retain. Okay, Sandy?
I agree, because the seating walls, well, I mean, I love B, except I'm concerned about the seating wall as well.
And I'm also going to vote no because of the same concern. A permanent seating wall creates some concerns for me, or a semi, or anything other, at least something that can't be removed if we absolutely need to do it. So I believe the motion did not carry. At this point, we can either go back and talk about B with modifications, or we can move on to the next project, which was C, I believe, because I didn't hear, and maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't hear any support for A or D during our discussions. So the question is, where do we want to go from here? Does someone want to make a motion to re-raise B with the issue of removable seating wall, or make a motion to go on to C, and we can talk about modifications at that point?
Is everybody looking at them? I mean, you've got them in your email, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got the overhead views that were given to us.
Okay, the seating wall in C is not on the grassy, is on the other side, right? Mm-hmm. Yes.
There is no wall on C.
It doesn't have. I think B and C are relatively similar, except there's no seating wall. To the left of the memorial wall is a little bit different configuration. has some benches and doesn't have the educational.
Okay.
So, once again, if there's something in C and you like to incorporate elements of B, there's no reason we can't do that either. It's just, we just need to figure out where to go. So at this point, our options are either go back to B with some other modifications or move on to C and talk about either it as it exists or what modifications we might want to suggest. So I'm throwing it to you guys. Yeah, go ahead, John.
Howie, so it seems in light of there being a lot of support for B, I'd make a motion about approving B with a fence on the edge of the property and without the vertical wall between the two parks.
Vertical wall is gone, and not a removable wall, just no seating wall at all. I just want to be sure I understand where you're coming from.
I was saying without a wall at all, and letting the wide pavers, I think it was described as 24 inches of pavers, be the separator between the two parks.
Can someone explain how a wall would be removable? Temporary?
It would have.
It would have to be.
It would have sleeves. Yeah, it has sleeves down in the ground. If you've ever been to our park, there's a couple of bollards that go down in the ground, come out and are removable so that cars can drive up into the park during events. So there has to be like a metal sleeve, and then the leg of whatever it is would fit down in there. And I will say that works for about 6 months, and then it doesn't work after that.
Okay. And once again, it would have to be lockable, and obviously it couldn't be brick because you couldn't be removing a brick wall. It would have to change whatever the composition of the wall would be if we went that way. So the motion on the floor right now is to approve B with two modifications. One is removal of the seating wall, which is at the end of the Memorial Plaza that goes against the grassy area that faces Stumptown Park, if I've got it right.
Yes.
And also to add, obviously, something to the back end to stop traffic through.
Yes.
Is there a second for that motion?
Hey, I'm sorry, just to be clear. So
Yeah, go ahead, Deb.
Sorry, it's Debbie again. And to remove the wall on option B, that's the seating area that faces the Memorial Plaza, right? So otherwise,
correct. In the center of it's exactly pretty much the center of the memorial.
Okay. And so I don't understand can you help me understand how the pavers define the separation between like the grassy area and the Memorial Plaza? How would that?
Well, the same way that the pavers or the sidewalk is going to delineate between the grassy area and the memorial.
So it's like a sidewalk.
It would be a sidewalk, or it would be paved. It's probably pavers in that area from the way it looks. But yes,
okay,
it would be a sidewalk or pavers that would abut against the grass, but it would not be raised. There'd be no height. It would be flat, but there'd be a difference in the surfaces.
So otherwise,
that helps.
if you take away the seating area, does that mean like individuals would have to bring their own chairs to sit in the lawn if they wanted to have a time of reflection on the plaza?
I guess you could do that, or we could also talk. There's also a possibility of maybe putting some benches or seating inside the edge at the memorial wall as opposed to outside.
Okay. Would that congest the area to walk through? Would that be congesting, or would that?
I don't know. Is Ted still with us, or has he moved on?
Ted, I think he's still here.
I'm still here. I think the question is, how much room is there between what would be the sidewalk and where the retaining walls would be now? Would there be room to put seating in that area, some kind of, whether it's curved or whatever, as opposed to the retaining wall, Ted?
Yeah, so on B, the sidewalks they're 7 feet, not much more. And that's why the benches are on the outside of the plaza area. Whereas if you're looking at C, then it has a widened plaza area on one side that allows more passage where benches could be put on the outside looking into the memorial. But if you look at B, it's very much it's an improved and widened sidewalk from what you have today, but it's no more than 8 feet, including the brick edging. The question would be where you would want to put benches. You might could limit them into just the plaza area.
Okay.
But at those entry points, if you compress that, it just tightens up that flow.
Right. In other words, there's no room for benches on the interior of the paver or brick as opposed to on the grass. Correct? I just want to make sure I understand what you're telling us.
Yeah, right. Not without widening the sidewalk.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
So then I think in essence, the wall would act as just an area for individuals to use as a seating area, right? So that they don't have to bring their own chairs.
Correct. And also Mark was talking about vertical delineation, which is, that was a phrase we went through quite a bit.
I like vertical delineation. It makes sense now. It makes sense because otherwise I can see the separation between one element to the next element. There's like a fluid motion and then a stop to understand that you're going into a different space. And when I go to the park, when we do, I do see individuals that just utilize the spaces and the picnic tables to have moments. And so it would be great to have a spot for them to not have to lug out lawn chairs. And we do it because we have active kids and I have a little go-go cart. But I don't know if, others would want to drag out things.
Can I add a complication here? There's another possibility. Is to go with C, but make modifications to the area that would be left of the memorial wall. In other words, where they have benches right now is one, put the benches on the other side so they're facing memorial, not the park. And that could also clear up some space for the informational signs, just as a possible change, because C takes care of the issue of not having the wall at all. I'm not sure if that matters or not, but the motion before us right now is to go with the removing the I don't know what you even want to call it, but the brick sitting wall at the bottom of the Memorial Plaza that abuts onto the grassy area of Stumptown Park. I think I got it right now. So that's the motion to approve B without that sitting area and with the addition of something in the back to stop pass-through traffic. Is there any other discussion on that? If not, why don't we put the modification for B up for a vote? I'm just going to go back through the list again. Ryan, you happen to be first on my list, so I'm going to go to you first.
I still like B. I'm in favor of what you guys are talking about.
Okay, Debbie.
I like B with the wall, and I like B with the wall and the backsplash as well.
With the wall, without the wall, the seating wall. I'm sorry.
I like the seating wall. Yes.
Okay, so you're opposing the motion, which takes it out. Okay.
Yes.
Just want to be, okay. Susan's not here. Still not here. Sandy.
No, she's not here.
Okay. John, you made the motion. So what are you going to do here? All in favor? Okay. Tara.
Yes, approve without the seating wall.
Okay. Sandy.
I think, again, approve without the seating wall. I was trying to look at C, though, to try to get, because I know that there's some folks that want seating, and C would allow us to do seating at a different area. Am I right on that?
Well, I know we've already started to sort of weigh in. I do think benches, I'll say, are more movable certainly than a wall. If the idea was to make sure that we had seating that was available in front of the plaza, benches that are now against the retaining wall in C could be added to the perimeter of the plaza, I guess in whichever design. But those are certainly, I'll say backless benches. If it is just, flat top legs that can be secured and removed when necessary could be a compromise that provides seating, but then also it is something that I've seen in practice that's movable a lot easier than a wall.
Corey,
I'm going to vote to approve B the way it is, which is 5-1. But I'm going to ask you guys: do you want to go back and reconsider what we just voted on, with the addition of some removable benches in the area where the brick seating wall now is? I'm just throwing it out there. Since Corey raised it, I don't know how you guys feel about that as a compromise.
Corey, were you talking about that being? Tell us where you meant about those types of benches. You don't mean for them to be in the dirt on the inside.
I'm describing where, I guess, where the sitting wall is. Thinking about Debbie's point, people being able to sit and physically face the circular or half circular wall. They could be there on that, essentially benches instead of the wall as seating.
so they'd be moved.
If that's a compromise.
Right, and we're talking about removable benches, Leanne.
We're talking about removable benches where the wall is. Am I right on that?
Where the brick seating wall is right now, or was. Right now, we've approved B without the brick seating wall. But what we're talking about is possibly going back and looking at B with benches, removable benches in the area where the brick seating wall is in the diagram for B. Does that make sense to you guys or not?
Yeah.
What was the vote on the motion?
5-1. In favor of B without the brick seating wall.
We're not going with that because.
Excuse me?
And we're not going with that because.
We're going with that, but Corey raised a point that I just want to see if anybody wants to consider and amend it. If not, we go with what we've got. Unfortunately, Corey got cut out of the discussion before we voted, and I didn't want to leave him out of it, and that was my mistake.
I mean, yeah, go ahead. I should have interjected. Go ahead. But that was
the question is, does anybody want to weigh in on instead of doing B without the brick seating wall at all, doing B instead with removable benches in the area where the brick seating wall is right now?
Yes,
Who said that? I'm sorry.
I did, Tara.
Tara, sorry, I'm just getting screens. I can't tell who's who. Okay. Anybody else want to weigh in on that?
I have a question.
I want to think about that for just a minute. Tell me how storage and that kind of thing, and who would be, how complicated that would be to, I mean, would those be moved back? They would normally be, I guess I'm trying to figure out when they would be moved. I'm sorry. I think it's late and I'm tired, but
I think Leanne could probably tell you best what events it would require them not to be there.
Leanne?
Yeah, I mean, we put vendors along the perimeter of the park for a lot of events. It used to be somewhat for Food Truck Friday. It's definitely for Positively. I mean, anytime that we put vendors around the outside of that third of an acre or half of an acre or whatever it is, it's not just Matthews Alive. But that's why I was asking him if those are going in dirt. I can tell you that will not hold up. I mean, it's fine for a while, but once dirt gets down in there, you can't, So for me, it would depend on how heavy they are. I mean, I'm the one that has to go in there and take them out, put them somewhere. We don't have any storage for something like that. So again, it just seems, I don't know. It seems like a lot for little return.
All right, thank you. Anybody else? Sandy, you want to add anything?
No,
thoughts on this?
That was my question. I mean, I understand. I'm trying to accommodate everybody's wishes here, and I guess you know, if you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing nobody. But I was trying to accommodate what I've heard from the veterans, as well as knowing, because I go to so many events in the park, knowing the needs of the park, and I guess I worry about the wall, because it does come out and take up area of the park that I can see that we need, because I know where the events go. So that's my concern. And so I guess I'm voting without. I was trying to figure out a compromise situation, but I'm not sure there is a good one, because I'm thinking trying to get them stored and that kind of thing is just almost unbelievable. So I guess
we're not voting on anything right now. We're discussing it because there's not a motion on the floor right now.
Yeah,
we've approved B without any.
Right. Yeah, I'm thinking I don't want the seating area, because ideally I wish we could do something movable, but I just think logistically that's going to be almost impossible, and I don't like the permanent seating area, because I feel like that interferes with a lot of the events, because I'm in the park all the time with the events. So that's my concern.
Okay. Anybody else want to add in? Doug, Michelle, Jack, you all want to add anything, make any comments to us? We'd love to hear what you're thinking about it. Why don't we get Michelle first, then we'll go to Doug.
No, I'll let Doug, if you don't mind, if that's okay, Mr. Lavin, I'll let Doug go first, since he's over me, so I'll let him go first.
As the chair,
no problem. And I've lost Jack, so I don't know where he went. So
I think I have a lot of lightning. My power is flickering on and off, so I make it long.
Jack's back in here. We're having people coming in and out because of the lightning and the power issues. But if you guys are going with your last vote with the B without a wall, Corey, what is the venue for that? Because we will go as the MVAC separately back to B and brief the committee on the 27th. Brief the board of commissioners on the 27th separately, if that's the case.
Well, I mean, it's we talking about the same meeting, the 23rd.
Oh, 23rd, excuse me. On the 23rd.
Doug, that's the vote right now. We're discussing whether we're going to change it, but that's the way it exists right now.
Right. I like what you guys are talking about, because when we came back to this thing originally, we were talking about removable walls. Public Works would be responsible for the removable walls. I don't know, Leanne, who has to take that in and out. I don't know if you are Public Works or not, but my understanding was Public Works was the one who would take any type of removable item and replace that at the request of when the events are going on. That was my understanding.
And that's a logistical issue for Parks and Rec and Public Works. And I know Leanne's expressed how she feels about it, but that's something that town council can consider if they decide to go that way.
Understood. The second thing is that if you guys go with B, make sure that the overview has the educational plaques, because that's not listed on item number B there, Ted. You don't have an arrow or anything on the overview for item B showing the educational plaques. So
it is in the overhead schematic that we've got. I think they're there. They're just hard to see, but they are there.
Normally he points them out with a verbiage. So they're not there with
right. And the problem is when overhead view, something like that's not going to show up that well anyway.
Understood. I'm just saying that it should say education.
Right. So, when they present it to town council, I'm sure we will have the bird's eye view also, which should make it a little easier for them to conceive it.
So my understanding is that the Parks and Recs, they do like the educational plaques. They don't want anything on the inside for the wall, for the seating wall. But with my committee now, once we get done, I will go ahead and let them know that you guys are in favor of B without the seating wall. But if that's the case, then we will probably brief separately with the board.
Yeah, no, I understand, certainly. Michelle, you want to?
Yeah, my thoughts are this. I love B. I think B has a lot of wonderful things to it. Especially, I think it works well. I think it gives us the delineation that Mr. Tufano was talking about. But if it came down to losing option B because of the sitting, in the spirit of compromise, I mean, if it were me making the decision, in which it's not, but I'm just giving you my opinion, I would give up the seating if I could keep B rather than lose B, because we can't make a compromise. That's my thoughts.
Right, and obviously, there may be a difference of opinion between Parks and Rec Advisory and Veterans Advisory Committee, and that's fine. We can take it to Town Council, and they're the ultimate arbiter of whatever. So that may be something internally for, Veterans Advisory to talk about before you go up to whatever. Let me just check. Jack, are you back? I know we lost you, and you wanted to comment on this. There you are.
Can you see me? Okay.
Yes, we can see you and hear you.
Tara, I saw lightning through your window, and I heard it by my house. We must live close together. Anyway, back to that subject. Seating. So I have some relatives who were in the Korean War and World War II, up in age, in the 90s or 80s. They want to come and visit the memorial. They have a brick there. They have their families there, maybe the son or the brother or the sister. I have 12 bricks that I placed there. My question about the seating is, where will the 90-year-olds and 80-year-olds and 70-year-olds like me sit when we want to sit down and reflect our past and what we went through as veterans to help our country? That's all I got to say.
Good point, Jack.
Okay. Anybody else from Parks and Rec want to add anything to this? Leanne. I saw you there. Leanne, your little digital hand is up. Go for it.
I just wanted to thank Michelle for the mention of compromise. I think this discussion just seems to get one way or another, and I think everybody forgets that you can't have everything you want. Neither one of us can, and somebody's got to give up something. And I just appreciate that thought. I think that's getting lost here, so I appreciate that a lot.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything about the modifications for removable benches being added to the B? If not, is there a motion to modify the previous vote, which would be to go with B without the retaining wall, but adding some form of removable benches in their place, along with some kind of security or wall against the back, just to make sure we have everything there. I don't know if there's a second for that. If there isn't, we go with what we've got. If there's a second, or if someone make the motion, excuse me, if they want to.
I'm confused. Are we talking about movable benches or no movable wall or no movable wall or benches?
We're talking about, we already voted to approve it with no wall. We're talking about amending it to add removable benches, whether or not there's no motion on the floor right now. If someone wants to make that motion, please go ahead and do it. If not, we'll just move forward.
Yes, we should add bench. There
Tara's made a motion.
Right.
Okay. So there's a motion on the floor to approve B with removal of the brick seating replaced by some form of removable benches, along with a security or some barrier along the back. Is there a second for that motion?
Second.
Second, okay. So the motion's on the floor. Anybody else want to have any further discussion, or whether we may have talked this thing to death? If you do, let me know. Otherwise, we'll vote. So if I don't hear from anybody, I'm going to call for a vote. I'm going to go back once again. Ryan, wherever you are, you get to go first, just because you're in the wrong place on the list.
I'm in favor.
In favor of the change with, okay. Debbie.
I'm stuck. And I think like what Jack said is so valid, and that's what I've seen at the park when I've gone to witness that. So I'd like to have seating there. At the same time, I can't see like our Parks and Rec team dragging benches back and forth either, right? And so I'd like for there to be something, but without like the extra storage and and that's why I think that having the retaining wall is great, because to me it's the between both of them.
Debbie, right now there's no retaining.
And at the same time,
right now there's no retaining wall. This vote is whether we replace. I'm sorry.
That was my input, so I don't necessarily.
Do you want to vote or just abstain from this? Say I don't want to have a word on it.
I don't want to.
Okay, you're going to abstain. Okay, in other words, you're not going to vote yes or no, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Susan back, or she's still gone?
Just took on. Just took on.
Okay, John?
I second it, so I vote for it, yes.
In favor. Okay, Tara? Tara forward, so that's okay. Tara, Sandy?
I'm still hung up on the wall, again, the seating area I worry about because I just know that impinges on events. So I guess I'm going to vote no.
Okay, and I'm going to vote yes. So we've got 4 in favor, 1 opposed, 1 abstention on that. So the recommendation to town council will involve removable, from us will at least involve removable benches, and obviously they'll do whatever they want. Unless there's something else, I think we pretty much run this thing to the ground. Anybody else want to add anything to that? If not, we'll move forward on to division reports and wrap this meeting up tonight.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify something. So with the removable benches, then the benches would stay there, I guess, except when there's an event and they need to have them out of the way.
Correct.
So then people that are elderly and such would have somewhere to sit when they come.
Correct. In other words, to all intents and purposes, they'd be permanent. They'd just be anchored so that they could be removed if necessary in certain circumstances.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else want to do anything on that? If not, we're going to move to division.
Yeah, I got a comment.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doug. Sorry.
Okay, so the removable benches, the removable benches is the ones that you guys are going to go with, and we're going to talk about benches in the current area, not an extension, correct?
Correct. Or in the area where the existing retaining wall, the brick wall is right now.
Okay, good. I think that would be more plausible to our committee also, so let me get with them and...
Right. It's going to be the same footprint. It's just replacing brick walls instead of, or no walls with removable benches.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else? I'm sorry. I can only see 9 people at a time, so I don't want to cut anybody off. If not, we'll move forward to division reports. Everybody get a look at those. Mm-hmm. They were sent to us. Anybody have any questions or comments? Corey, I've got a question for us on Hispanic heritage. Are we running that, or is it somebody on the outside that we are just, we're just kind of the conduit for? I'm just, what our role is there. I'm just curious.
It is, that will be our event. It will be our, similar to scale of it at this point, the first stab at it will likely be call it a themed food truck Friday, in my opinion. Best way to sort of put a picture to it. Certainly the food, the music, we've hired dancers, people to actually be in front of the stage, instructing people how to do some dances, that type, but nothing beyond the footprint of Stumptown Park.
Okay, and are there any specific groups that we're working with on this? Is it one group or a coalition of groups?
For the idea, we certainly worked with the Cultural Diversity Committee, but we as a department also just wanted to offer something that attracted a different group of people to the park.
But are we running the show, or have we had somebody else in the Hispanic community who's working with us to kind of, do the outreach? And I'm just trying to figure out how logistically we're dealing with it.
Okay, gotcha. I'm sorry. Yeah, so I'll say ironically, but luckily, if you guys have met Brandon Crumpton, I'll say his wife is tied in to the community, and also Brandon himself has a lot of connection. So we are using those resources to help, I guess, garner the support, and also promote the event to make sure that it is successful.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have any questions on any of the vision reports? Jack, sure.
Just a little hint for Corey. There are 2 groups here in Charlotte area. One is the Latin American Women's Association, which has been in existence for 30 years, and the other is the Latin American Coalition, also in existence for many, many years. Reach out to them, and they can help you with that kind of program.
Awesome, I appreciate that.
And if you need more information, call my wife, Marina. She'll help you out.
Awesome, will do.
Okay.
Thank you, Jack. Anybody else have any questions for Corey on that? If not, director's report, Corey?
Don't have a whole lot. I did want to share one or two photos with you. Well, I'll start with, as you know, tomorrow is the ribbon cutting for the Heritage Trail. Very excited about that. If you haven't had a chance, well, I did. I shared the link with you, and there's also been some other promotion for it. Barbara Taylor has done just a great job of getting the word out about what that program was. Well, I'm sorry, that project was, and how it all started, and all that good stuff.
Corey, just for
Sorry, go ahead.
Corey, for your information, I'm a part of a bridge builders group that is Mount Moriah and Matthews United Methodist Church, and that 10 o'clock Thursday ribbon cutting has been heavily advertised with that group.
Awesome. So with that, I'm not sure what to expect as far as crowd. So we may be overwhelmed, and that'd be okay. It'll be an awesome ceremony. Hope everybody.
Guys, that's tomorrow, 10 o'clock at Mount Moriah Baptist on Crestdale Road. Anybody wants to come, be great.
And I just wanted to share a quick update on the dog park. We've been getting a lot of questions about it. People drive by it. They see the work that's been, happening. It's like, when is it going to be done? And this is a quick little pic of it where we are. You can see we're almost there. Still don't have the water. Still need to install some benches. Our public works department is working, very hard on this around other things that they're, trying to accomplish around Matthews. But just wanted to share that I'm not just saying that there's a dog park. There is really a dog park being built, and it will be done very soon. I promise. Ryan, I promise you. I know I've been saying it for a while, but it will be.
Appreciate you.
Free puppies for everybody.
Free puppies for everybody.
Doggy daycare is expensive.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for Corey? Going once, going twice, sold. Old business. I don't think we have any old business because this downtown park, we've covered at length. I'm not aware of anything.
I did want to bring up one thing, a bit of a sensitive issue, certainly with Harvey, where he is, right now. I think it's worth the committee talking about adding at least an alternate to the committee, to have another voice, just, to have 9 people to voice their opinion more consistently.
I think that might not be a bad idea. As far as Harvey goes, if and when we get back to live, it won't be a problem. Harvey's problem is technology based.
Yeah.
But as you guys know, I bring him to the meeting, so he will show up. But once again, it's probably a good idea anyway. We've also had Scott has not been at a couple of meetings too, which may be another reason to consider an alternate.
Okay. So I will. I don't think it's any for a vote, but just thinking about verbally, there's consensus that this is a need, or would just simply help the committee. So I'll reach out to Lori. She is going to advertise for all committees here soon, and she'll add hours to the list.
Hey, Corey.
I'm an alternate on planning right now, and what we do is we go to the meetings, and we can participate. We can't vote if everybody's there, but that's pretty much. They have 2. That committee has 2 alternates, so just so it works fairly well.
Is there might be a really dumb question. Is there a way that we can, somehow supplement the technology so he can participate remotely?
The problem is it's not the technology, it's that Harvey's eyesight is incredibly limited. So an iPad or a computer are still almost impossible for him to use unless somebody's there to assist him with it.
Yeah.
So it's not just, I don't understand how to use this stuff. There's an overlay.
Yeah. Okay. So just the audio isn't sufficient.
The audio, even that's an issue. You have 2 things. You have sight issues and you have technology issues in Harvey's case.
Okay.
And in fact, I talked to him today. I told him exactly to call me 10 minutes before the meeting. I'd walk him through how to get, into the town website and do it, but he didn't call. So I don't know what's going down. But certainly, Lori, I think town council will be the ones who really decide whether it be an alternate or not. And I think it's a great idea. Also, it also means when someone steps off, you've got someone to step in and then you fill the alternate spot. So it works out fairly well.
Like that.
Certainly valuing Harvey's, input on a lot of decisions.
Yes.
I personally said I need to do a better job of just stopping by and just talking to him a little bit more. But yeah.
Well, I'm bringing him tomorrow to the Crestdale Trail, so you get a chance to see him tomorrow.
That'll work.
All right. So yeah. So, okay, thank you. Yeah, but I think that's an issue. And in the past, we have had members who haven't appeared that we've, either taken off or asked to, and that's always a possibility we have. It becomes an issue.
Yeah.
And I'm close to Harvey, so I really don't want to comment on this one way or another, but I understand if you all have different feelings, you got to do what you think is best for Parks and Rec.
Okay.
I think Harvey's a valuable voice.
Very.
But can be here. I mean, I feel pretty strongly. I'd like to accommodate him.
Yeah, and if you've been to Harvey's house, if Harvey's house wasn't what it was, I'd consider going there and running the meeting from his house, but it just physically cannot be done.
Yeah.
All right. New business.
Let me ask one question. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
The Heritage Trail, the opening of Heritage Trail, how long? I'm having issues with standing, and I've got some pretty serious back problems, and I think I've got mother going to the doctor tomorrow. But how long will that program be? And is there any place for people like me to sit that can't possibly stand for very long?
Gotcha.
I've got two camp chairs in the trunk of my car. I'm bringing one for Harvey. If you'd like, I'm happy to bring the other one for you. You can sit down during,
Okay,
they fold up.
What time does it start? The Heritage Trail starts at 10. Am I right? Yeah.
Starts at 10, and I'd be surprised if it's not over by 10:15, maybe 10:20 or so, with the photo ops and ribbon cutting. Now, Commissioner Whitley, Pastor Whitley, has made some snacks available for everyone that does, everyone that wants, in the fellowship hall, which is right behind where we're going to be standing. And so, you can go outside the fellowship hall, but if you like, and sit after that for a bit. But yeah, very short ceremony.
Sandy, I'll bring an extra camp chair anyway, just in case.
And
You're welcome to.
That'll be great, because I'm gonna try to make that meeting. I've got to take mother to the doctor very quickly, and just to pick up something at 9:30. But I think I should be able to be there by 10 o'clock. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Okay, new business. Jeff Miller, one of our town commissioners, sent an email to Corey and I this afternoon about finding items that are lost on the greenway, put on manhole covers and on the ground. And he suggested that we consider adding maybe some lost and found boxes, along the trail. Something, whether it's, knowing you guys know Jeff, he sent 4 mock-ups of what we could do, but it could be something plastic. It could be something closer to a mailbox, stick in the ground, something above it. And, I don't know how you guys feel about it. If you think it's a good idea, we can have Park and Rec look into it with Public Works, have them fabricate 3 or 4. It seems like it's a pretty simple issue.
Yeah, I'll say, Commissioner Miller brought this up once before. We did some research, found some designs, different types of boxes, much like what you're describing. Honestly, just hadn't pulled the trigger on it. You guys think it's a good idea? We'll certainly do it. Commissioner certainly thinks it's something that can't hurt.
Yeah, or even something close to a mailbox. Something that size with lost and found put on it would do. It's just someplace people can put this stuff. So if you lose it, you can walk back on the trail and check in the boxes.
Good
I've
idea.
seen some things on the trail before. I think that the key fob, they're very creative of how people put things up. Is it possible to make it like, I've also seen at Squirrel Lake Park where they put items that were lost in the library box? Could it be a fusion of like a library box with the lost and found at the bottom, or is that too much merge?
Yeah, it sure could. I mean, library boxes or the book, the neighborhood book library boxes are pretty much the same thing. Yeah, they would work too.
Because that would be kind of magical on the Greenway, because you have one at Squirrel Lake Park, maybe one at the other end. Then you could just line them up, Corey. Just have like one every couple of steps.
I think, and those of you that know Jeff, not only did he recommend this, he sent a list of proposed spots for them, but, that's something we can figure out. But, maybe 2, 3, 4 spread out along the Greenway would be, more than sufficient.
Encourage reading.
Yeah, I looking at, call it, the other side, everybody doesn't return and pick up their stuff that they lose, right? So it would, we have a lost and found at the community center. It is a, recycle bin, and every, 30, 45 days, everything just gets chucked.
Yeah.
And it would have to be that same sort of, we just wouldn't just continue to keep the stuff. So as long as everyone has the same expectation as far as the public, knowing that there's the lost and found, you come back in 3 months looking for it, it may not be there.
Right.
And that's fine. I think he just wants something other than have people, and they mean well, they're putting it on the manhole covers, something. Something more easily, that people will go to look at if they've lost something.
Well, somebody tried to twist.
So, is there anybody opposed to having Park and Rec look into this idea? If you are, say yes. Otherwise, Corey, go for it.
And what were you describing, Debbie?
Well, somebody had put just on the trail a branch around one of those descriptive titles, and they hung a key fob just dangling. And we walk it regularly. The next day it was gone. So I get the concept, like whoever walks that trail will walk back again and look for their stuff. So, and people are pretty honest around here, I think.
Yeah, most of them.
Most of them.
Okay.
Corey, go ahead, and if you guys want to run with that one, go for it.
Would you guys make it, or would you guys need a designer to help you actually construct it?
You know what? We would not reinvent the wheel. We would go to either, may look online, but I feel confident Lowe's or Home Depot has something that would fit the need, and our team can create some sort of latch or some way to attach it to whatever location, either in Squirrel Lake along the Greenway, and make something work.
Cool. I like it. Fingerprint ID. Take it up. Take it next level.
Done.
You're piking. Let's go for retina scans. That'll teach you.
That's the way to do it. Full face scan. Absolutely. That's next level. That's Elon Musk type of stuff.
That's next level.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Another item, new business, Corey, just an information. It's almost our favorite time of the year, tourism grant season. What's the time frame for the applications to drop? Because we're starting to get close.
Yeah. The actual application, I'm going to make it available by, say, mid next week. I know this year I'm a little behind on that. I'm going to make it available very soon. I think the submission date is still going to be that late September. We're going to say whatever we've done before. And then
we have 2 weeks later.
Yeah. So same schedule. I'll say, it's a little bit, maybe a little more, I can't even say that. I was going to say a little more clear this year than last year about what's going to happen and what's not. But I guess to some degree, we still don't know some of the things that or some of the events or programs that just may not take place over this next fiscal year with, given the, COVID spikes. So
we talked about funding because of COVID anyway, either holding it back or taking that into account.
Right. I think it would be good to continue the practice of making this a reimbursement, confirming that the events take place, and then the town just issues the grant funding once we get that. I can't think. End of whatever we call that form. Post-event.
Right. Now,
Post-event report.
we've done the event. Give us our check. Thank you. I understand. That's fine. Anybody else have any comments on that or any other new business?
I just have a question.
Going one?
We have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So with recent, with Matthews Live getting canceled, is it possible that some other things down the road, because across nationwide things are getting canceled, like the Hispanic Festival in October, how's that going to play out?
It is possible. At this point, we're making decisions almost with 2-week windows. Okay. So we made a decision about this coming Friday's concert. We're going to deliver it. We're not sort of reverting back to the pod system, but we are going to install some, call it landscape type flags, and encourage people to just simply stay around their flag, their area, and the flags will be distanced. As we get more information, we may change. We may begin to cancel some things. Really just depends. To date, we've been in step with the county and with Mecklenburg County and with, the state and any, what I call it mandates that they have issued down. So really we are waiting for more information. Actually, I just got added to a call on Monday where there's going to be some information from Meck County. I'm not sure what it is yet, but we are going to be sitting on a call midday Monday.
Okay, anybody else have any new business? Going once, going twice. Guys, it's been a very long night. Thank you all very much for your patience and your time on this. And our next meeting is, hold on, check here. I think it's September 8th, guys.
The 8th.
So we'll catch you all then, but maybe we'll see some of you tomorrow at the Heritage Trail ribbon cutting. Thanks again. I appreciate it. I know this whole project has not been a lot of fun, but thank you all for getting invested in it and giving it everything you got.
Thanks.
So we'll catch you all later.
See you later. Good night.
Good night.